Hi, Hiren. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here today and representing the University of Arts London. So, in this video, we're going to talk about Hiren's background, then what it's like to study at UAL, the timetable, his course, and also going to talk about the job opportunities. Hiren went back home to India after completing the course, so we're going to explore that part as well. So, if you're studying any other course at UAL, this interview can give you like a wholesome idea or a general idea on what to expect. So, let us begin. Hi, Hiren.
Hi Devyani,
How are
I
you
hope you're
today?
doing good and the weather's not bothering you.
Oh, it's so hot. So, can I please ask you to formally like introduce yourself again? Which course are you studying, and again at which university, please?
Yeah, so my name is Hiren Agarwal. I'm originally from Pune, from India, and I was studying a master's in advertising. That's an MA in advertising from the University of Arts London. That's UAL. And yeah, before that, I did an undergrad in literature and language. That's basically the English, like the BA in English
Mm-hmm.
from for college, which is in Pune.
Okay. So, when I went to your LinkedIn, I saw you did a bit of liberal arts and all of that. So, what was that? Was that not your undergrad degree?
So the thing is, a BA is not considered enough. Like, in India, especially if you're doing a BA degree, like a BA in English, that too, so, it's kind of considered not enough. And I wasn't, at the time when I did my undergrad, I wasn't sure of my master's plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I thought of doing a couple more diploma. I did a diploma in liberal arts from Symbiosis Center for Liberal Arts. And the reason why I really like that course is because the class strength was only 7, 8 students per, per subject. And because it was liberal arts, it was a bit of science, a bit of performance arts, a bit of language, humanities, everything. So it gave me a
Mm-hmm.
real, and it kind of helped me choose advertising as my master's, to be honest. So
Okay.
I'm that course, and the other diploma of cyber law, that was just like it was a remote course by I think Mumbai Law College.
Mm-hmm.
So something I did out of my interest in technology and law.
Right. So, when did you graduate?
I was supposed to graduate in April 2020, but COVID, as we know. So I think it took up to October of the year to graduate from Ferguson.
Okay. So then, why did you decide to do your master's in advertising specifically?
So it's actually a very random story. Like I was sitting with a friend. This was probably in my second or third year of undergrad, and we were sitting at a restaurant, and that friend was kind of, asking me that what do you want to do for your masters or in life in general, that kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think, what are my strengths? I've always been a good writer. I've been observant, and and I wanted to put those things to use. So I was just thinking, and I saw a particular, I think it was like a Red Bull poster or something, and I just looked at it and I was like, yeah, I can write stuff like this. It was funny, and it was even designed in a funny way. So I was like, I can think of this, I can create this. So maybe advertising is something I should look at. So I started looking at courses. I started looking at what is in advertising, and I even did a short course of advertising in the diploma in liberal arts. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of an idea that I don't want to be like a content writer where I just want to sit writing blogs and captions, but like I do want to get into advertising. I do want to kind of create that impact on people where I'm kind of using my writing skills and thinking of what do people actually want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's because I've understood that advertising is kind of understanding what do people want exactly, and that is why we should use our product kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like playing to my strengths kind of a thing, and yeah, that's why I'm here today.
Right. So can you tell me like because advertising is a part of marketing in general. So in my undergrad, I did a
Yeah.
specialization in advertising as well. So kind of know where you come from. But then why did you choose a niche instead of like an entire course? Like MSc marketing. Why did you
Yeah.
choose? Hmm.
So the thing was, I have not really like I'm part of a dropout as well from a BBA course which I had joined a year before I was in Ferguson, and I had actually joined BBA at the time to do a BBA in marketing. But I realized that that course included some parts like, accounts and finance and stuff that wasn't really my cup of tea. It's not that I couldn't learn it, but it's just that I knew this wasn't the reason why I'm here kind of a thing. It didn't really give me that creative push. So that is the reason why I went for a little more advertising than marketing, because marketing then involves a little bit of financials and a little bit of, I wouldn't say economics as such, but it's still something like it pushes me a little outside creative, which I did not want.
Mhm.
And like another reason is like an MA, again, like an MA degree, I felt would be a little more. How do you call it? Like even the thesis part, like even the thesis in a master's that you have to do, it would give me that a little bit of freedom, an MA thesis, but an MSc thesis I thought would be a little more, I don't want to say restrictive, but along those lines.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's why I went for advertising instead of an MSc marketing.
Okay. So so why did you choose to study at UAL and what other options did you consider along with that?
So I had only looked at UK at the time for masters, because as we all know that masters are only 1 year in the UK. So that is why I had only looked at UK. I did not really look at any other country options.
Mhm.
But inside the UK, I had applied to six universities, around six. They, other than UL, there were University of Leeds, there was University of Leicester, there was Manchester Metropolitan and Coventry as well, and a couple more. So, like the primary reason, two big reasons rather why I chose UL was first, I just Googled like the advertising hub of the world, and Google told me London. So, of course, London exposure, London advertising was a big reason.
Mhm.
Uh, yes, UL is ranked second in the world for design. So for fashion and design, but like obviously design is a huge aspect of advertising. So I thought that London exposure, as well as like the fact that UL itself is number two in the world, would be a really great thing as well. And I feel London's a little more diverse. Like having lived in the UK now and having traveled to a couple more cities, I realized that yes, London is quite more diverse than a few other cities. So yeah, and like I was able to speak to a couple of ex students from UL, who were from my course itself, like
Mhm.
from advertising. So even they gave me a really good heads up and everything on the course. So that's why I chose UL.
Right. So like I saw that you also have some work experience in advertising. Can you tell us about that? So did you like, because you have some work experience, was that like beneficial for you while doing your course or
So to be fair, when you start, like when I started my MA in advertising there, they did really teach us things from scratch,
Mhm.
because there were people who were like, including me, like who weren't really from an advertising background, or who hadn't really studied advertising in the undergrad. So, like, yeah, I it did like my experience. I have worked as a junior copywriter and content writer and stuff for like about a year or so, I would say. My main, like, I've primarily worked in content, but that is like creating content for a newspaper, not the advertising side of it, but like articles and journalism side.
Mhm.
So, bit of knowledge, of course, like, and the writing flair and kind of like how to use your words, that is of course helpful. But when the approach that UL has of teaching something, it is that we will teach you everything from scratch. We do not want that a certain student is at an advantage versus at a disadvantage. So
Right.
they do kind of treat everyone as equal, so to speak, and they start from ground up.
Right.
And because it's so diverse, like everyone is also, even if people have an advertising background, they still have different advertising backgrounds. So it's kind of necessary to start from the ground up as well. In fact, my course head, he was telling me that in two batches before me, there was a student who had come for MA advertising, who had actually studied neurosurgery before.
Oh no.
After doing like neurosurgery, he had come for MA advertising. So he's like, your backgrounds are kind of like, it's fine. Like you're not here because of your educational background. You're here because of how your thought process works,
Mm-hmm.
and how you kind of think, how creative you are, and those kind of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you tell me how to get into UAL? Is the application process similar like the other universities, or how is it different?
So yeah, the process is pretty much similar. The only thing is, because I'm a deferred student, the process I went through to go through UL is completely pre-COVID. I applied and got into UL even before COVID existed. So like yeah, at the time when I applied, I had to fill out like the application form that's there on the website for the course. I had to upload my SOP, like the student of work, like 10th grade mark sheet, 12th grade mark sheet, the basic documents, and the most important thing they look at is the SOP, your statement of purpose. So that I feel is something that students who want to get into UL, irrespective of any course, have to really, really put work into.
Mm-hmm.
And usually students usually use the same SOP across all universities wherever they are applying. That is something they should avoid doing. Like I'm not saying make a completely new SOP for every university, but kind of try to include why you like your SOP should include why you've chosen this particular course at this particular university.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, like maybe include that, I really find this module of the course interesting. That is why that is something I want to study. That is
Mm-hmm.
something I'm proud of studying. So there was this module called investigating audiences that I had in my course. And that is something I really like when I had read about it when I was reading about the course as well. So I just made it a point to mention it in the SOP that, this module, investigating audiences, is something I'm really looking forward to learning, because it's not often you always think of the brand, the product, but you rarely think of, what does the audience really, really want? And there's all about who is the audience, how much audience is there, but what do they want or why do they want it is something that is sometimes not looked at. So that was something really interesting, and that is something I put into my SOP. So yeah, the SOP is an extremely important document. And later on, I believe I was asked to submit a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the time, I was that we understand that you're not design students or you might not have done design, but we only want to know again your thought process, your like how creative you can be, the ideas that kind of come from your head and why they come from my head
Mm-hmm.
thing. So I had a social work group at the time, and we had run a campaign for a blood donation event that we had held. So that is what I had submitted, because I had done the copywriting as well as a bit of the graphic designing for the campaign and the event. So
Mm-hmm.
that is made a portfolio out of, and like yeah, I'm glad that they liked it as well. And then there was an interview scheduled over Skype that was with my course head. The interview was barely like 15-20 minutes. I was kind of asked, and like he didn't keep questions as to why UL, why this university kind of thing, but it was more like why advertising, and what is the last ad you saw that you found interesting, what is the one thing that could be done well or that could be done newly in advertising in the next 2-3 years. And of course, like this is pre-COVID, so at the time, it was very fun to answer that, because now you can say that VR, AR, everything has come up with that. But
Mm-hmm.
pre it was kind of like to think of it, to give answers quickly. And he asked me a little bit about my portfolio, that where did this idea come from, like how did you think of this and stuff.
Right.
But so that was my process. After the interview, I just like I think maybe a couple weeks or 3 weeks later after the interview, I just got an email that I've been accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, UL was actually like UL and University of Leeds were the two unis I was actually waiting on to choose. So yeah, I'm glad UL gave me an acceptance on time.
So you mentioned that you had to submit a portfolio, but for somebody who is a fresher who does not really have that kind of experience, is UAL not the right university for them without a portfolio?
I don't believe so. Like even at the time, like I'm a fresher as well. It's literally the things that I submitted on my portfolio were literally made on my phone in those photo grid apps. Like I didn't even know about Canva when I had made that thing. So it's like I literally made my portfolio in a Word document, then converted into a PDF and then sent it. Like I did not use Canva or PowerPoint or anything for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and in fact, UL does kind of look for freshers instead of people with experience, because they want that. novelty inside. They want that diversity inside. And there's a lot of cross learning going on because like now because of metaverse and again like VR, AR, so many technological advancements. They want people who may not know about advertising, but they know like or even if you know that okay like something like the metaverse exists and in your mind you're like oh in the metaverse maybe we can have like a shopping mall where we can go and shop and the products will actually be delivered to us in our real homes. If that's an idea you give in your portfolio, they would be impressed because it's something new. So they're just looking at a new idea or something, how your thought process is. They're not looking for actual work that you've done. You
Right.
can literally just send anything you've written or even make something for that matter. That if I was in a position or if I was advertising this, I would do it like this kind
Mm-hmm.
of a thing, and
Okay.
that could be your portfolio.
And do you
So
think
yeah,
graphic
like
designing skills are kind of like an essential for you, like other than just ideas?
not yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, not at all actually. Like I myself, I do not have eh, second to none graphic designing skills. I've barely used Canva, and I do not know. I personally do not know how to use Photoshop or Illustrator or any Adobe this thing that for that matter. So
Okay.
like yeah, the design is necessary and it's not a very like that's the thing, that's the question. Even I had to my course at during my course interview that I understand that UL is a very well designed ranked college kind of a thing. So I hope this course isn't design heavy because for people like me who don't know, we don't want to be left behind because we don't know design.
Correct.
And that's what he said. Like it's not about design at all. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like we do not, he's like, we won't teach you copywriting or design. We'll teach you how to advertise. Copywriting and designing is your thing to do, whichever is your strong suit anyway. If you
Mm-hmm.
are a designer by nature, then you will do that in advertising later. We'll just tell you how to use that skill for advertising.
Right.
Now, because writing background, I was kind of taught how to use that skill to advertise better, not how to design, because it is not my job to design in a way. And even if I start designing, I won't be as good as someone who's learned it for 4 years in a proper college.
Definitely. Makes sense. Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
So let us talk about your course more in detail. So can you tell me how was the year divided? Like how many semesters did you have and how many subjects in each semester?
So we had our first module was from October to December, where our first semester rather, our first semester was from October to December. We had two, I believe, two modules in it. No, we had three modules in it. Uh, like one was like so. The thing is, they try to put you through modules to make you ready, like to prepare you for your final major project. Like everything you study in the first 10 months ish, like first 8 months, will be entirely used for your final dissertation. So that's how they prepare you. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a first in the first semester we had like this module called creative advertising. We had investigating audiences that way. So we are starting from the theory part of it. Like there's no and how much time could there like how much theory could there be in advertising? So it's like a little bit of theory plus a little bit of creativity plus a little bit of knowing your audience. So
Mm-hmm.
we know how we need to start when we are looking at advertising something.
Right.
Then our semester sort of included a little bit of digital media. That is when once you know how to advertise, then comes in the medium. So then you know how to. Then it comes with partnerships. Like we partnered with the Telegraph, we partnered with McDonald's, things like that. And throughout the year, we were working with real clients and doing real work for them. So
Mm-hmm.
that is gives you that extra push and motivation that someone is actually going to look at our work. It's not just a teacher going to check it and give us marks, but that there's actually going to be companies and clients looking at our work and giving us feedback. And of course, it helps with networking as well. And after that, there was the final semester is only dissertation preparation where you're kind of shown, you're given the list of topics, you're kind of made to discuss, the entire class discusses all topics and everything together. Then everyone kind of thinks of what's who's strong suit, who's going to do what, and how does one go about it? How does one start a dissertation?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much how the entire year is divided. There's like the final I would say 5 to 6 months is only you working on your dissertation. And because a lot of UAL LCC courses are 15 months, they're not 12 months. They do not end in September. They officially end in December.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the second year, like the thing that ends in December, you'll probably start working on your dissertation from like May itself. So from May all the way till November, you have your time for dissertation. The reason for it is because in I believe in other universities like King's, Queen Mary, etc. The modules that you give in the start, like basically throughout your course, hold some weightage towards your grade, your degree's grade. But in UL courses, the thing is only your dissertation's grade is your degree's grade.
Oh,
Anything you study before that, the it is not there in your degree grade. Yeah, yeah. Like for example, even if I got like a D minus or an A minus in 2, 3 modules before, that is only my transcript thing that I've done before, like in my master's as modules. But my
oh,
degree grade will only the grade I get for my dissertation. And that is something that a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people got to know after we went there and after we were given our course orientation and everything.
right.
But it was something very new to us, and we didn't know that it was only your UAL thing where your dissertation grade is your degree grade. Basically, that's why you have to put in your absolute everything when you're doing your dissertation.
Right. So your dissertation is it like an agency work where 5, 6 people come together and do, or like it's like a written doc? Like how does that work? What is a dissertation?
So the dissertation or your thesis is basically about, it should be around 12,000 words. The great part is that there's no restriction. You can choose any topic whatsoever. The thing is, it's only done on an individual level. It's not done in groups. It's not even done in pairs. Thesis is something that you're doing for your own degree, so you have to do on your own. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, like get help. The UL like the faculty is always there to supervise. You can always book tutorials with them, everything. But it's something you need to work on your own. It is about 12,000 words, and usually a client gives you, the client that UL has a tied up with for our course. They give you like about 10 to 12 topics, and you're just supposed to choose one or more. Like in case you want to mix 2 or 3 topics in the same dissertation, you have that freedom as well.
Can you give
But
examples of topics? Like for example, what?
so something like everything is PR, like it's a very general topic, or how will the metaverse work? Then something like what is an ad agency today? Because after COVID, people have been working from home throughout. There have been complete ad agencies that are completely becoming remote working, where they don't have an office space. So that was one topic, and that's just the base topic. Like for example, I have taken everything as PR. That is just my base topic. Now I will use this like there'll be a brand or a company or something. I will take this as an example. See, like this brand did this. This was a PR thing, or this brand didn't do this as a PR thing, but it turned out it became a PR thing because everything you do, PR is kind of like your reputation. A brand's reputation, a company's reputation. Like recently, there was this video that went viral that a Swiggy delivery boy was on a horse or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
like there was no Swiggy was not involved. A Swiggy delivery boy was not involved either. But it became a Swiggy PR thing, right? So that's why I found that topic really interesting, and like yeah, that's why I took it out. And I have connected that to football. I am a big football fan. So and obviously being in UK, being in London for a year, it got me a lot more closer to the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it and I was like, how do I connect this to football? So I've taken up an English football club, and I'm like, let's see how this does PR for its fans in India. Because my whole thing was telling my coach said that I am someone who stayed up at 1, 2, 3 a.m. at night to watch these football games, even though it's been played in the UK and it's not even an India match or something like that, right? It's a British club, local club that is playing a game. So why am I staying up at 2, 3 a.m.? Why am I getting angry if they lose? So I'm sure there's something there.
Right.
And like yeah, and that's why like to connect this, I thought that everything is PR is a good option because a club has to do something for its fans in return. That's why fans like a club, they get angry at a club. So whatever a club
Mm-hmm.
does affects its fans, even though they are not like blood related or anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like yeah, that's something exploring. But yeah, I'm still working on how I'm gonna write 12,000 words on it.
Right.
But yeah, good. And it's just like it's a good example to show that how you get a lot of freedom during your dissertation. People who like music, they are actually doing working on partnerships between brands and bands. People who like maybe like some other sports, or there's some other like NFTs. A lot of people are making fashion NFTs, etc. So yeah,
So
you have like
nice.
unlimited freedom to do your dissertation, and that's why you're given so much time as well.
Okay, so can you tell me how your teaching looks like? So you said it's a lot of creativity, a bit of theory. So like, are your classes very interactive, or is it more like presentation based? Like, can you tell us more about it?
So, at least for my course, the lectures were 3 hours long, but a single lecture. But like that's the thing. When I saw it in the timetable, a 3 hour lecture sounded a lot. But they have a systematic way of doing that as well. Like the first 1 hour will be them giving a presentation, like the teacher presenting something, explaining something basically. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that involves question and answer and discussion, but the first hour is primarily the teacher speaking. Then there's about a 15-minute break, 15 to 20-minute break. And then after we come back, there's kind of a task or an activity kind of thing given of like, related to what was just taught 20 minutes before. And that is when the main discussion, that is when basically the remaining hour and a half is when the students talk the most and the teacher is only commenting, giving feedback, basically discussion based completely. So it's done in a very 50-50 manner, and it rarely feels like, oh, like, you rarely look at the clock and say that, oh, there's 2 hours to go or whatever. Because usually when the teacher is explaining, it goes by pretty quick because you're kind of paying attention and it's the first thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
And because the break kind of freshens you up, after that you anyway have a task to do, so your time is spent doing the task. And the great thing is that from day one up to the last day, all these tasks given inside lectures are usually group tasks. You have to pair up with someone or three or more people in a group. So you get to know your classmates better. You get to know about a lot more countries because it's such a diverse class. Like
Right.
my class, people from Africa, from Poland, from Italy, from Ecuador, China, everywhere. So you kind of get to know not just how the country is, but even how the advertising works in that country, what is different, what could work here, what could work there. And yeah, so that's why the discussion thing is really nice. And of course, creatively, if three, four people are thinking together, that is, and like I feel like that's really great because that's how ad agencies, how the ad industry works as well. They're
Mm-hmm.
kind of preparing us for the group work, the thing. That's why I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, like it's not my job to do graphic designing. There's someone in my team to do that. I need to fill the gap what she can't do or what he
Right.
can't do. Is where it goes hand in hand. So yeah, like that's how a typical lecture looks like. The teacher presenting, a short break, and then the class doing an activity or discussing on the basis of what was taught.
Right. So how about the assignments? For each module, how many assignments do you have? Is it more practical or more theoretical?
Yeah. Yeah, we had two assignments for each module. They were just like element one, element two, they were called. Some of them had like a 50-50 weightage, some of them had a 25-75 weightage. But again, UL does not work on marks. UL only has a grading system. So it goes like the same, like O, A plus, A minus, the thing we already know. So that's a good thing I feel, because like as marks, when you see a certain number, you're like, it could have been more or whatever. But
Mhm.
as a grade, obviously, you're in a range. So you need to do that kind of prompts you to not do better for 1 or 2 or 3 marks, but
Mhm.
better to improve your quality of work, your
Right.
grade, so to speak. So like yeah, so the grading is there. There's two assignments per module, and it is almost entirely practical based. Like in the sense, like my course does not have exams. My course in particular did not have any exams whatsoever at all. All our assignments are like, as I said, we work with real clients throughout the year. So majority of the work is kind of real work that we are doing with clients. And of course, there's some like a written assignment like a case study or something like that, that you kind of have to do for yourself. and you'll just like, it will only be the faculty going through it and you will just be writing it. But in that, every assignment comes, like, includes like a literature review and again, the systematic way of adding references in the end, everything. So, like, yeah, it is a very systematic way, but again, because there's no exams and your assignments are given to you way before, like on probably in the second week itself of a particular module, you're told that this is gonna be what you need to submit at the end of 3 months. So everything you're doing, even in class for those 3 months, is kind of part of your assignment. So it keeps adding. So it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, I have to write 10,000 words today and submit it by tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in a student life, that is bound to happen. Does happen. But like, yeah, you're well prepared for it. You don't have to. I never had a thing where I had to start an assignment of like 5,000 words from scratch because
Mm-hmm.
it like most of it was up here or it was noted down my notebook what I learned in class, discussed in class, everything.
Right.
So like yeah, doing assignments is and it's kind of fun, right? As an advertising student, you're kind of asking me to advertise something even in my assignment, so it is kind of fun. You
Right.
don't really, oh, this is academic kind
Mm-hmm.
of. It does feel very practical and like you're working on.
Mm-hmm. But then how much do you have to study overall? Is the course pretty chill for you? Because like I remember like at least at King's studying marketing, I know I was like stressed 99% of the time. Like, oh my God, these long lectures, so much assignments to do, so much to write. And like for us at least they did not really teach us the basics of how to do referencing and how to things. And because King's especially is a very theoretical university, like everything is based on theory. There is no practical.
Yeah, yeah,
How is it for you? Like how did you manage
yeah.
around that?
So yeah, referencing I feel is every student's worst nightmare. The one thing is UL always keeps language development classes. They're not like they kind of offer students who are not that well versed with English, but eventually in towards like it goes on through the entire year more or less. But after if you attend after the fourth, fifth week, then it comes up to all the important stuff that even some Indian students like referencing and like the proper grammar and everything of that sort. Like I attended it in the first 2 3 weeks. I was like, this is too basic kind of a thing. But then I realized its point that it's kind of meant to train you entirely, not just teach you English, but train you entirely academically as well.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
that and like UAL's online resource library and everything is also very good.
mm-hmm,
So fencing is something that it wasn't really taught to us, I would say,
mm-hmm,
but it's just like we were given the proper examples online, everything. We just had to make sure it was right. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't even I don't get it spot on in the start, but it's just something I feel referencing is something that comes with practice.
mm-hmm,
Uh, so about the course being chill, I personally felt it was kind of chill because anyway, like a master's course is only college twice a week. You only go in twice a week, so you have the remainder of days to kind of like do like keep working basically, and you have enough time for your household chores. You have enough time for reading as well. So, like, yeah, I don't think it was very hectic, and there was not a lot of focus on writing and theory. There was definitely a lot more focus on understanding of particular things.
mm-hmm,
And, like, yeah, whatever we were told to write in the assignment as well was kind of from our own understanding. Like, what have we understood or what would we do in a situation? It was very less about what has already been done. That
mm-hmm,
is a literature review that has to be put in some assignments. But other than that, it's kind of like you only writing what you would do in,
mm-hmm.
X thing for X thing or something like that. You coming up with things, you passing on new knowledge, something of that
Right.
sort. So, like, I think it was very, I don't even think my classmates, any of my classmates felt extremely overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm,
But of course, because we had, so there were some semesters when we had 3 or 4 modules plus like some extra work. Of course, students also have to put in part-time shifts to keep up, etc., etc. So I feel it gets a little overwhelming. It gets more tiring, I would say,
mm-hmm,
because suddenly and the issue is that the semester dates are like they are fixed. So it happens that whenever the semester end period is there, in those 3 days only you'll have to submit all 3 modules. because that is when the semester ends. So all the assignments have to be submitted by then. So in
Mhm.
space of 3 4 days, you're really really like those 3 4 days are of course heavy, but that I feel is kind of like exam season in India where
Of
you're
course.
not you're not really studying throughout the year, but those 2 weeks of exam are extremely hectic and
Correct, correct.
scary.
When I
So
wanted
like
to
yeah,
get into marketing, like this is what I expected. Like I wanted like the more practical, creative side. But I think in India, I did not
yeah,
have that kind of information or knowledge. Like if today I had to choose between King's and UAL, I would definitely go for like University of Arts, because this is what you need in the practical world. So that is super interesting. But then another question I wanted to ask you is like because you said like you had a lot of contacts with the industry and you had a lot of practical knowledge, but it's like, I don't know, like it's a little controversial thing, but people are saying that advertising is dying right now, like the big podcast,
yeah.
like advertising is dead and like everybody is going for the more digital marketing and strategizing is very important. So how do you think the skills you gained in the more practical way is benefiting you in the real life, understanding the scenario of
So
marketing?
yeah. So the thing is, I feel advertising can never die. That's my personal opinion because as long as people are making new things, those new things will have to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
And like yeah, marketing, advertising, I feel like they're just different terminologies for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like yeah, of course there's a bit of difference, but ultimately if you're doing digital media marketing, which we did have as a module in our course, when you're doing that, it's not very far from advertising. It'll be like it still has to be like for example, yeah, the campaign still has to be there, right? There still has to be
Right.
a campaign for you to digitally put up. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot just put up your product posters and be like, buy this thing. How to sell it? Why would a customer click on that and buy it? Is something that kind of like, of course, it's become more digital, especially COVID and because of Amazon, Instagram, everything like that. It has become a lot more digital, but it's still advertising after all, and like the whole strategy part of it, which is something even I'm interested in, like advertising strategy is something that goes online and offline as well. You won't find a lot of difference there that this like for example for me I won't think that this campaign is only going on Instagram, so
Mm-hmm.
it'll have to be something very different than maybe a campaign that will go on a newspaper or something like that. It still has to be that uniformity has to be there. That yeah,
Integrated. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like there's a certain way a brand wants to be shown, and a brand's reputation and stuff. That is still a big part of advertising as well.
Right.
So like yeah, they do go in hand. And I think we were taught certain of those digital things as well in our course.
Right. So because right now digital is such a huge thing, do you think your course is more leaning towards digital, or did you have also like, traditional advertising, ATL advertising was also taught sufficiently well?
So like that's the one good thing about UL is that they reapprove and I'm not sure of the term, but they kind of look at the course every 2 years
Mm-hmm.
and they refresh the modules. Yeah, they change the modules, they make a few changes here and there.
Right.
So right now for us, for as well, there was no like obviously before there was no much or nothing much of NFT and metaverse, but
Mm-hmm.
this time we had a specific module assignment on NFTs on metaverse. In
Right.
that we didn't have to make a real NFT, but we were taught you do need to make one. How do you need to go about it? And you basically taught how don't just jump on the NFT bandwagon because everybody else is. You need to see if your brand actually demands it. You need to see how that NFT or how metaverse fits for your brand. We were
Right.
given the example of McDonald's, which McDonald's had launched their first NFT in the US like a few years ago, and it was a big, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a big fail. The whole idea, and like yeah, it did not work.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually asked to make a better working or digital object for McDonald's that way. So like yeah, it's good to know that sometimes technology fast takes away from. Is the voice breaking a lot?
Yeah, it is. That's why I'm kind of like
Oh,
It's okay though, because it has happened quite a lot now because we can't, the internet is fluctuating a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just saying that like yeah, we are not just taught about the technology, we are also taught kind of how to use it, when to use it, why to use it. So yeah, so it's that thing is good.
And how many students are there in your class and how many Indians out of them?
So my course had 28 students. In like my class was of 28, and there were, including me, there were three Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And like so yeah, so but the thing is, I think my course was one of the ones that had such a small class, because there were other courses in UL that had strengths up to 100 or more.
Mm-hmm.
So and these were all UL masters courses. So course strength is something that entirely depends on the that particular course's head. So that is something you need to like. I in during my time I'd ask him during the interview itself that I prefer being in a smaller class. So that is something I got cleared in the start, that how many people will be in my class. At that time I was told 25, but because of like after COVID, because I went after COVID, I deferred my offer and all. Then the class number put up to 30 because there were a lot of people from deferred offers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But like a 30, a class of 30 and experience. And I feel like our coach had actually kind of had a personal relationship with all of us that way. Because he knew personally how all of us were, what we did. Like for example, me, he knew that I was a football and cricket fan. So he randomly used to ask me, like, what are you doing? And I used to tell him that I'm watching cricket. Like, you're a Indian guy watching his cricket in the afternoon. And we laugh and joke about it. It's very nice. You don't have that sir ma'am kind of a thing that see in India. It's a very nice relation because they also know that you're a master student, you're like 24, 25 in the age. You have grown up to that maturity where you can actually have a proper conversation with someone adult.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, so now you mentioned all of those great things, but then what was the reason of going back home after, like, having so many industry contacts? You said the job market is not that great and all of that. So tell us about that.
Actually, like the job market in London it is pretty good, and of course now it's booming because now they're finally coming out of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I personally felt to come back not just because of family business background, that
Mm-hmm.
was a reason, but I also felt that in UK I was kind of not focusing on the right thing, where I would have to think of doing my household chores, cooking for myself, finding a house, paying taxes, everything, other than finding a job and doing that job.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I live in India, if I live at home, actually, I would be actually focusing on my job, trying to do my job well, try to progress my career well. Especially like I've had like two gap years in life, so I'm reaching the age of 25, and I didn't really wanna and I knew that my end goal was always Pune, even before I went to London to study. My end goal was Pune, so I knew that one day or the other I would be coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, I didn't wanna it made sense for me to work there also for a year or two, get experience, and then come back to Pune. That is the way that a lot of people are taking, and it's not wrong. I would say it's just not my preference.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of times the money looks very good on paper there. Like you're making like 35,000 pounds a year. Technically, if I tell you that you're gonna get paid 35 lakhs a year, you would not, in no way would you say no to a job like that. But then you see that, oh, the post study work visa is like 2,000 pounds. Then you realize that, oh, there's 20% tax rate. So then the rent also there is like about 1,000 pounds a month, especially if you're living in London. Like if you're in Manchester or Birmingham or something like that, then of course like your expenses are considerably lower. But if you're living in London, then of course you living in London also know that. So like yeah, rent, expenses, finding a house itself, and for some reason I don't know, I'm not sure of this entirely because I've come back, but I believe that people are having a little bit of issue applying to jobs as well in London. That is because the companies are in like in the first round of applications that they asked you that will you be requiring like a sponsorship for visa and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if a company is rejecting you on that basis, then again like it is a little difficult for you to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
But and like you can understand that from a company's perspective as well, right? Like they have to pay your salary anyway, plus they have to sponsor your visa or take care of that, which is a big cost. 2,000, 2,300 pounds is not small money. So you kind of like be like, okay, then why not work where you can actually work?
That
And
makes
like,
sense.
of course, I feel like because of my not, I wouldn't say, but yeah, kind of like connections and network in Pune, I knew how to get things done. I would know what to do where. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I feel that I just like playing to my strengths is something I try to do. And that is why I chose to work in Pune because, like, yeah, I'm not even looking for jobs outside Pune right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's either Pune or London for me. I don't, it doesn't make sense for me to be in Mumbai or Bangalore because then I'd rather just go to London and work there if I'm not going to be at Pune.
Correct.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I've come to Pune. It's not it's not a problem. It's not an inconvenience, but it's something in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I
That's a good. Mhm. So, like, does UAL help you with job opportunities or give you like placements because they have so many contacts in the industry?
I mean, so that's the thing. Like a couple of things. UAL itself, like the fact that you graduated from UAL will give you a huge push in the creative industry because again, like because it's so reputed, not just in UK but around the world.
Definitely.
You understand that what kind of work you've done. UAL people, especially, they make sure that you've created a proper portfolio before you leave the university. So, like our course address like told us straight away that the thesis that you're not doing it for me or for your degree's grade. You're doing it for your job. Think of it like that from day one, and that's how your thesis will come out properly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've kind of put that in someone's mind, then they know that they are doing that thesis also for a job, and because of the diversity, because of the exposure, you kind of become more confident as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
what UL gives you. I believe the placement, they do have a placement cell. They do help you network, but I'm not sure if they like get you placed.
Mm-hmm.
But UL itself, they have their own. They have a host of their own jobs as well because they have like 6 colleges in like 10 different locations in London. So you can like I know someone who's working for UL after graduating from UL as a graphic designer,
Mm-hmm.
and she's doing well career wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there won't be a lack of opportunities. There won't be this thing that, oh, how do I get a job kind of a thing. You'll
Right.
know how you'll know how what to say in the interview, you know what to show as your portfolio. It's just about the other factors and your chances of getting hired because there's a lot more people applying.
Right. 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 And
Yeah.
yeah. So, what is like your favorite thing about university? If you had to name one thing.
Oh. Uh, well, to be honest, like I'll tell you something very honestly is because I had to go into uni twice a week or thrice a week. I was like for the remaining time I was mostly like living and chilling with the people in my accommodation. I did not live on campus. I
Mm-hmm.
lived in a student accommodation, but it was UL's university accommodation. It was a general student accommodation. You had people from all backgrounds, all universities, everything. And living there was an amazing part of university life. I would say because it's like 150 to 200 students in one building. So
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, when it comes to UL on a serious part, like yeah, something like understanding advertising is was my favorite part. Like again, as I say, I was not taught copywriting or design. I was not told that write like this, then you will be able to sell more. But the fact that I was asked to dig in deeper, dig in deeper, dig in deeper, always ask when you find something, ask yourself why and dig in deeper. After finding that, again ask yourself why and dig in deeper. That's something that
Right.
even my really focused on, and that's something I really like because like now I feel like I don't want to do anything superficial. I
Mm-hmm.
need to understand why would a person wants a Mercedes because it looks good on the road or it gives them like more confidence. It's good for their ego, reputation, etc. But why does that happen? Because
Mm-hmm.
most an imported German European brand, and basically
Just
something like that. Just
question
going
everything.
deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Why question everything? Increase your curiosity. Like when you're out in public, try not to be on your phone, but look around at hoardings, billboards, even the small
Right.
the
Mhm.
rickshaws that you see behind.
Right.
Just like so, that is something that UL has really, really brought inside me, and yeah, that would be something that's it's helpful as well, right? Like if an interview, even if you're not in an interview, but if someone just asks me what's your favorite part of advertising or what's a good ad that you saw recently, I don't have to think for it. I can say that this is something that I saw 2 days back. It may not be my favorite, but I really like what they've done with it.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, you're connected to the world, you're connected to the advertising world. You're not just like passively in it that, I work in advertising, but I only work in advertising when it's my 8 hour shift. Otherwise, I don't pay attention. I skip ads and stuff. So a little bit of that too. I can watch this ad actually. I can wait for more
Mm-hmm.
than 10 watch what they're trying to do. So that's something I might have to do later in my life.
Mm-hmm. When I did my
So yeah.
specialization in advertising in undergrad, that's what happened to me. Like, all these advertisings you're surrounded, you start noticing and you're like, oh my God, I can do such a better job. Like, sometimes
Yeah,
I don't know, the
exactly.
copies and everything is so bad. So I think, yeah, that definitely does happen. But then, after you graduate, what kind of job roles can you get into? Like, what are the roles you apply to? Like, is it like only an agency or how in a company? Like, how does that work?
So there's like because now a lot of these brands and companies have their own brand manager, communication manager and stuff. You don't really have to work only for an ad agency today. Like if your strength is copywriting or something like that, you can even work for a production house for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
like a film production or an ad production house maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and you can even go into script writing for ads. So
So every creative aspect
you
is
need
open and
to
how you connect it.
yeah, and you kind of need to because ultimately you're an MA in advertising, but people are gonna ask you, what do you do in advertising? Do you write it? Do you design it? Do you think of the strategy part of it? Some
Mm-hmm.
people are good. Some people are very good at mediating and making teams work. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of become account managers, account executives, account servicing, where they are the contact person between the creative team of the ad agency and the brand.
Right.
So if so, like yeah, that of roles is just like it's about doing what you can do well. Now that COVID has ended, event management has become a huge part of advertising. So if you're good at doing events, managing events, that is something you can also look at. And that's actually the reason why I chose MA advertising, not like a branding, not like a designing, not a writing course, because I don't want to stick to just copywriting all my life. I don't want to stick to just writing captions or even something like even if I was a designer, I wouldn't just want to be a graphic or UX designer or something like that for like 5, 10 years. I don't want to get into management. I don't want to get into managing teams. Maybe one day becoming a creative director of an ad agency or something like that. So like yeah, just keep. You should play to your strengths. You should know what you have a flair for
Mm-hmm.
or what you can do best. And yeah, that's something because and like as I said, it's not just ad agencies hiring, brands themselves are hiring. There are other companies, production houses, and just like everyone wants to advertise that, everyone wants to sell that what they are making. So
Yeah.
everyone is kind of looking to get people on board to do the same.
So now that I talk to you, now I understand. Like here, advertising and marketing is used in a very similar way. So what I was thinking in terms of advertising was initially a very traditional approach of like TV advertising or creating ads and things like that. But it is also very strategic and it's in a
Yeah.
more creative side. I think I really loved the course. And what do you not like about university in general? If you had to name one thing.
Um, I think that's the thing. Like the one thing I didn't like is the same thing where I only had to go in twice a week, thrice a week. Like not even thrice a week. It was usually twice a week or even lesser than that sometimes. And that kind of sometimes made me feel that I can't connect to my university that well. Like even my classmates, like we did meet outside the college and stuff like that. But still, it was kind of like just those 2, 3 days a week or something like that. But I feel it's just the difference in education system there. Here in India, we are used to going to college from morning to evening, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So suddenly, when you
Mm-hmm.
come to a little more open and freedom system, you're kind of like, oh, then yeah. So that is something that I obviously like. You can go to college even every day. You can work like work in the library and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But like yeah, maybe a little more that they like maybe a little more lectures or something like that. But again, when I think of it, then it would have felt a lot more hectic. As I said, that wasn't very overwhelming. Then
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would have been more overwhelming if I had to put in more time in academics, because of course when you're living as a student in another country, you have 10, 20 other things to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, I would have an issue with the university as such, and the communication is on point. They are extremely helpful, uh, irrespective of what you want to ask them. Or they have the phone. They can help you via phone, via website, and in person.
That's
So
great.
you'll never be in a position that oh damn, how do I contact my uni about this, or
Mm-hmm.
what do I do? You just need to ask the first UL person you meet, and they'll definitely guide you through
Right.
whatever it is. And this starts right from your application process, not even when you become a student, but from day one when you apply. Like I thought when COVID happened and when I had to defer my offer, I thought it would be a huge task. But all I had to do was something on the university portal and just send one email to them, and that was it. My offer was officially properly deferred.
Wow.
So yeah,
I
exactly.
don't relate.
So that is some exactly. And like what happened was during my time, like when I had applied pre-COVID, the deposit that you had to pay was a £2,000 refundable deposit. But after COVID, the rules changed and it became a £4,000 non-refundable deposit. But because I had applied pre-COVID, they only took those £2,000 from me, and that was always refundable for me until I became a student and everything.
That's great. That's
So, like, yeah, basically, they're fair. They're fair to, yeah, they're fair and they're very, like, you won't have a problem with like admin, and you won't even waste your time doing all those things, which sometimes become a barrier while studying in India.
right. So, other than university, did you join any societies and clubs?
I don't think I joined. There was an Indian society that I had inquired about to join because they had a lot of events. But I believe no events happened in the months I was there, or I probably missed it. But another thing about UAL is they host a lot of events because they have like six different colleges in 10 different locations in London. They organize events at each because they want their students to kind of. I was in London College of Communication, but they kind of wanted me to go to a different college and just have a look and see. So they used to keep events here and there.
Right.
And like so that way you end up interacting and socializing with people outside your not just your course but even outside your college.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is something they did, and yeah, that way you can socialize, interact with people from your university. Of course, today WhatsApp groups are a huge help where irrespective of what course you're doing, where you're from, you are on one group. Immediate when
Yeah.
you put, I need help with this, you'll immediately get a response.
Mhm.
That oh yes, I'm a photographer. I can help you with photographing your product or something on
That's
those lines.
great. That's great. And did you do
Yeah.
any part time while studying?
Yes, I worked via two apps. One was called Coopel,
Mm-hmm.
Coopl, and the other one is Stint. Stint is
Yeah.
very popular. And like yeah, these I actually started working a bit late to be fair because like I we were there from what September, October till last month. So because there was a COVID scare in November, December, I was a little hesitant to go out and work. But once I started working in Jan, I pretty much worked until I came back here.
Right.
And it's a really nice experience. It was one of my favorite experiences there because we go to a restaurant, we sit, we order, we eat, we leave. But what happens in the back end of it? Like usually we think there's a chef making the food and a waiter getting us the food. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But how a proper restaurant works and like opportunities like Coopel and Stint, they give you place work in places like a Michelin star restaurant as well. Like I was a waiter in a couple of Michelin star restaurants I worked at like four to five football stadiums. Like because again, I love football. I was just working like as a bartender or something in the stadium, but it still got me closer to the game. I was inside the stadium while the match is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, that's kind of an experience where you get to learn not just the back end of things, but you kind of get to learn how it is to be in someone's shoes,
Correct.
and you automatically, you end up generating a lot of respect for people you may not have,
Mhm.
and you also may have taken for granted, like now you know how much work is that guy putting in to bring
Mhm.
you a glass of water, because you've done that for so many people, for
Correct.
so many.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, and of course, like, money is a huge necessity there for students. So, and like, of course, like making your own money when it's credited into your account, especially in pounds for an Indian guy, like you, even if you work like for 6, 7 hours, you get 70, 80 pounds. Technically, you can actually, even not just for yourself, you can actually tell your friends that I made 8 grand today after work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's nice. It's definitely nice. And yeah, the experience of just like working, you might think it's a small job, but once you go there, even for 1 or 2 shifts, you immediately understand how important it is to, do these things, to understand these things, to meet different people who are doing different jobs.
Okay, so my very last question to you is for somebody who wants to come to the UK to study advertising, what is the best advice you can give them?
Start watching and reading a lot of ads. Like read. I personally, I'm not gonna say that become a big reader and read a lot of books, because I myself don't do that. But just like be a little observant. Like even when you're going in a cafe to eat or something, try not to be on your phone. Try to look around. Just see how people are behaving, because in a way, advertising is completely how people behave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try to be a lot more observant, and like, yeah, just try to find something unique in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to, like, this person's good in advertising, I'm gonna try and be like him. Just
Mm-hmm.
say that I think I'm good at this, that's why I'm gonna be good at creating advertising. And that's how, if that's something they see in you, like the unis or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
unis or future employers, job prospects. That's something that they're looking for, especially in the UK. That's what they're looking for you, like, inside you. That what, like, because if they have 100, 200 applicants, they're not going to see who can do what. Just
Mm-hmm.
that, how is this person different than 80 other applicants today? And
Correct.
that is seen in your ideas, in the way you speak, in the way you present. And like, yeah, just working on that without studying is the best thing you can do, because even you will enjoy it then.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you do manage to reach the UK and study in the UK, then try to go out as much as possible. Just
Great
go
advice. Mm-hmm.
to see, yeah, like just to see people, just to see what they're doing, what's happening there and stuff. Because living as a student can get a lot lonely, can get very, very lonely. You can end up being in your room, just sitting all day. So it's just that push you need sometimes, just to go out for a walk, just to see what is happening where.
Yeah.
And yeah, that should be the advice I think I'll give.
Yeah, thank you, Hiren. This has been super insightful. There's only 1 minute left, so I'm just gonna wrap it up as soon as possible.
Yes.
But I think thank you so much. Like even I learned so much from you, and now I'm like I kind of regret honestly not going to UL because that's what I was looking for, and I had no idea about it. So I'm sure for upcoming students to make that decision, it's gonna be damn helpful. Do you mind if I add your LinkedIn in the description box below?
Yeah. Sure. And thank you so much. You're doing a really good service, and you're actually helping a lot of students who dream of going abroad to study.
Thank you so much, Hiren.